the Discless Ubisoft. I gotta say this carefully and slowly. Ubisoft Xbox Special Editions. So this came out a little while back, but basically all the collector editions for the big Ubisoft games, at least in the UK, won't have a physical disc. And they've actually confirmed that with PlayStation, it will come with a physical disc. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion, and Far Cry 6 will come with a digital key and not with a disc. I'm not a big collector of collector's editions. Like, what is your take on this?
It does. I think it kind of sucks for people that want the option to have the disc. But I think the whole point of the collector's editions are often the things that they come with, the physical,
Yeah.
statues or art books. The weird part for me, so the Halo 5 did something similar. So they had a limited collector's edition back in 2015, and they had a steelbook game case and the digital code. So that was absolutely ridiculous because why do you need a steelbook? What disc?
They had the steel case.
Yeah,
Damn.
so they had a game case, but no disc to put in it. So it's like, what's the point?
That's bad. That's bad.
Back then, it caused a bit of uproar, and then 343 essentially allowed people to actually swap the digital with the physical disc, right? So that was back then, so that's how they handled it. This is very specific. It's UK, Xbox, Ubisoft. So it's very narrow, but it is, I think, it's a telltale sign of just, digital really just taking over.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to me because, I had to check this. So Battlefield 1, there was a collector's edition where they didn't have the game itself. So it wasn't like a physical or digital version. And I kind of get that more, to be honest. Like, if I could have got a Breath of the Wild collector's edition that didn't actually have Breath of the Wild at all in it, I probably would buy that.
So because it's almost like a merch pack.
Yeah. Like, I'd be all up for that. Like, that'd be fine for me because, it gives you the option to have a digital version or a physical version. And you just go get it, and then you can get it on sale, or you can have a deal. But I find that with the special editions, it's just such a crazy markup with the game. Like, the game becomes like full RRP version of that game. But yeah, like back in the day when they did release that without the game itself, man, people really did not receive that well.
So I've read a few things. I was looking up an example. I can't remember the game, but there were stories that were reported on it. Turns out it was actually, it was a collector's edition of the guide. It wasn't the actual game itself. So I'm just making sure that wasn't the case of Battlefield. Battlefield probably wouldn't have a guide, would it? Because that didn't really have, that's
no, because even with this, it actually says, like, it seems like they've had to really, like, call it out and say that this game does not include the game. Like, there's a version of it that didn't include the game. There's a version that did include the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, they had the special edition that didn't have the game in it. To me, I'm like, I like that. But yeah, it was not well received.
The most interesting part of this to me is actually the fact that it's specific to Xbox. And of course, when we talk, we're talking market share, Sony is just craps all over Xbox in terms of the amount of PS4s out there. But it's still I wonder if it's a test case, like it's a sample to see how if people accept this, and then they'll start to roll it out to other regions.
I don't think so, man. I think if they did that, they'd do it for both PlayStation and for Xbox. I feel like this has to do something with the operational considerations in their region.
Okay.
Because there's also some issues in the UK and Europe in general, and with some publishers now, because they've gone to court with the European Union around pre-orders and then being able to return digital games. It's happening in Australia as well. Like, that whole space is becoming really interesting. Yeah, go on.
Sorry to cut you, but wouldn't that impact the general Xbox versions as well as the collector's editions? Essentially, it's just the normal game that they've slotted into the pack.
I don't know. But I feel like my gut feel would be it's much more operational than some kind of test, because I don't think they would do it just on Xbox only and not PlayStation as well.
I mean, you're probably going to have less of an uproar if it's only an Xbox.
Well, I mean, this has caused an uproar, though.
Yeah, I don't think it's as big as it would have been if it was across both platforms. But
yeah,
I understand it's probably is an operational thing. But my thought would be that that would have impacted, unless there's specific, unless maybe if it was a steel case or something originally that they were planning on, the actual box of the game itself should be the same as the version, just maybe with a slightly different slip cover. So
yeah, no, it's interesting, but yeah, look, like this whole thing around, you go in, buy a game, and it's just digital code. I feel like that's actually just getting. It's kind of almost the end of retail, right? But I think that's where we're going because, to be honest, it does. Especially with the Switch, because the Switch you can't gift games. So if I say, hey, I want to get this game, well, like if someone wants to buy it for me as a gift, they have to go buy the physical version. There's no other way to do it, And when I bought, so my wife's brother, when I bought him the Smash DLC, like there's no good way to do it, dude. So what I had to do is I had to go, hey, can I borrow your Switch for 5 minutes? And he's like, why? I'm like, oh, I just want to check a setting. So he's like, all right. He's a pretty chill guy. So he's like, all right. And then I bought it for him for his birthday.
Using his credit card?
No. I entered my credit card, didn't save the data, all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, what a dumb thing that you have to do. So obviously they need to work those kind of things out. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if this impacts us in Australia as well going forward, because we often are more linked to the EU because of the whole UK connection historically, which is kind of funny to me. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we start to see more of this in Australia as well. I don't know if we've got confirmation if we've got discs in our Ubisoft games going forward for special editions.